So hello again, we're the COVID sleep team, and the purpose of our study was tracking the correlation between the COVID-19 vaccination status and sleep quality. My name's Devan.
And I'm Shreya.
And our principal investigator is Anika. So as Sahar said, we presented at the Neuroscience 2022 conference. Earlier this month, we went to San Diego and presented. As high schoolers, we got to present to undergrads, PhD candidates, and experts in the field.
So while we were at SFN, our team gained a lot of valuable experience on how to effectively present our research. We observed and we interacted with dozens of experienced scientists, and we expanded our knowledge on both the impressive field of neuroscience in general and even our own study, because a lot of listeners asked us new questions about our findings. So we gained a lot of experience of thinking on the fly and understanding how to address people's questions. And we also had experience with asking other people questions and learning quickly about their studies. We understood what went into a great presentation, how to keep it short and effective, and make it a story, because the storytelling definitely effectively gets your point across. So it was overall an amazing experience, and we're so happy that we got to go.
And we looked so dope.
Yeah.
Isn't it, people? Yeah. Passion in neuroscience. There you go.
Okay. And so for the background of our study, in summer 2021, when our lab started, we conducted a literature review and compiled any articles and papers relating to COVID-19 and its effects on the general public. What we found studies on COVID-19 and found that COVID-19 had negative effects on sleep, behavioral patterns, and lifestyles. We researched outlying factors contributing to poor sleep quality, such as addictive substances, over-the-counter medication, as well as other lurking variables, such as being a night shift worker, being a healthcare worker. In fall 2021 and spring 2022, we created consent forms, both a short consent form and a long consent form for participants. We requested and received IRB, or Institutional Review Board, approval, including a long and short consent form for proper data collection. We also researched and began real data collection after dummy data. We used a HIPAA-compliant platform known as Jotform and increased our outreach through various methods. From past research, a research study by Sada et al. Found that changes to routines, such as changes to class schedules, physical activity, increased use of electronic devices, and more among students during the pandemic increased psychological distress, leading to poor sleep quality, therefore affecting their learning. In addition, sleep disorders such as insomnia were also found to be prevalent among the population, which weakens the immune system, making patients more susceptible to the SARS-CoV-2 virus. So the goal of our study was to understand this relationship between the COVID-19 vaccination and behavioral sleep quality. Our experimental group for our study was the fully vaccinated participants against COVID-19. Our control group was the same group of participants, however, before their vaccination date. Our hypothesis was the sleep quality will have been poor prior to vaccination date compared to after vaccination date. Our rationale was, as the pandemic caused higher stress in many individuals, the psychological assurance of the vaccination may provide some relief against that stress, therefore improving sleep quality. For our methodology, we based our novel sleep questionnaire on existing questionnaires, such as the Insomnia Severity Index, Pittsburgh Sleep Quality Index, Athens Insomnia Scale, and more. On Jotform, it consisted of 4 different questionnaires. First, an interest form in which participants filled out their name and email so that the long consent form could be emailed to them, as well as a short consent form. In the short consent form, they agreed that their personal health information, or PHI data, would not be revealed, and they will not be compensated as part of our study as well. Our eligibility form removed outliers from the study, and our questions were based on our research from summer 2021, such as people who are healthcare workers, night shift workers, or consumed addictive substances every day. We then, if eligible, then participants went to the demographic questionnaire. The demographic questionnaire included basic questions about the participants' background, such as age, race, gender, vaccination status. Finally, we had our novel sleep questionnaire, where we asked about questions about sleeping habits. The questions were structured so that if participants could respond with never, rarely, sometimes, and always. We then computed a sleep quality index score based on their responses. Never would receive 0 points, rarely 1 point, sometimes 2 points, and always would receive 3 points. A higher sleep quality index score would mean poor sleep quality, and a lower sleep quality index score would mean better sleep quality. Our survey platform Jotform added up the numbers for us and for their answers both before and after vaccination. For our outreach, we first finished internal testing and then polished our surveys. We finally then drafted emails and removed bias. Our first participants were ASDRP faculty, and then we sent to family and friends. After that, we posted on online platforms such as Nextdoor, Survey Circle, and Pollpool, as well as emailed college professors. Finally, we also created a flyer to hang up in public places to get participants that way as well. For managing our data, we hid personal health information data such as names and emails. The forms were all combined into one in order to make the elimination process smooth, and most ineligible people would be eliminated through the eligibility questionnaire itself. However, the data leads in our study performed quality control checks on each participant, such as incomplete surveys, repeated responses to the survey, as well as suspicious responses, such as them filling out the same answer for every single question.
Now onto results. Of the 159 participants that filled out the eligibility questionnaire, 72 of those participants were eligible for our study. From pre to post vaccination, sleep quality improved for 59.7% of participants. We found that the mean SQI before vaccination was 30.50, and the mean SQI after vaccination was slightly lower at 28.82, which suggests a slight improvement in sleep quality. There was also an overall shift of the SQI scores to lower values post-vaccination, with a decrease of the first quartile from 25 to 20. The histograms on the right highlight the distribution of participants' sleep scores before and after vaccination. While few participants had sleep scores below 20 before vaccination, which is shown in the top histogram, the number of participants with a score below 20 almost doubles after vaccination, as shown in the bottom histogram. We also compared the sleep quality of males and females. The average age of male versus female participants was similar, although there were significantly more females in the study than males. Overall, males had a greater average SQI improvement of 14.25%, compared to a 0.38% in females. However, female participants saw more drastic changes in sleep quality post-vaccination. The highest improvement and decrease in sleep quality for female sleep participants was by 25 points and 18 points respectively. However, for males, the highest improvement and decrease was by 20 points and 3 points respectively, signifying that females overall had more drastic changes in sleep quality after vaccination than males, and therefore a higher range. There are a variety of other factors that did not have a statistically significant relationship. These factors include, but are not limited to, age, sex, vaccine provider, and vaccine and booster combination. As seen in the figure, there were no significant differences in sleep quality between vaccine providers, such as Moderna and Pfizer and BioNTech. There was not sufficient data for other providers, such as Sinopharm and Covaxin, to provide a graphical analysis. Additionally, there were no statistically significant differences in changes of sleep quality between the different vaccine and booster combinations. This data shows that certain vaccine and booster combinations were not more effective than the others in improving sleep quality. There was not sufficient data to create a box plot graphical analysis for several combinations, indicated by a dash in the graph. As for our future works, we are currently working on our paper on the Overleaf platform, where we can jointly collaborate, and finalizing it to be submitted to the Journal of Sleep. After this semester, our lab will be closing, as we have went to SFN and finished our paper, and that will be the conclusion of our lab's work. This project was funded by Aspiring Scholars Directed Research Program and the Olive Children Foundation. And of course, we'd like to give a big thanks to our advisor, Anika, for all the support and wisdom that she's given us to help us get through all of this. Here are the references to our project and study. Feel free to contact us through this email. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a quick note that we are not closing the lab, we're closing the study.
Yes, sorry, closing the study.
Yes. Okay, well done. Beautiful work. I mean, there is no way to question your study. It's amazing. There's already a lot achieved. We just like have to put the words together and get it published. So as you mentioned that this is the end of the study, but the study is never finished till you don't publish the paper. So I wish you best of luck, as you have done an amazing work. And trust me when I say amazing work, that means collecting human data is not easy. It might be sound like, oh, you know, I have 10 cousins and I have a big family member and a friends and the parents of friends. So I myself can collect 50 people. Trust me, the reality is way too, I would say ugly. That's a precise word for it. I was compensating for my participant, even for paid compensation for paid participant. It is really challenging. It is time consuming. The component of data collection, human data collection, is patient, quality control, consistency, and reliability. Like you are you're holding a sensitive data in your hand, how to handle it. And I felt very kind of proud for my first team that they did it up to like the perfection, like it made me feel like, okay, I want to do the human study again. So thank you. It's a beautiful study. I congratulate you two on behalf of a huge team, as you have seen in the photo. There are a lot of them. So they all did amazing work. They all deserve it. I'm happy they had a good time. We really had a good time at Society of Neuroscience. And to all high school students, if you're doing really hard work, putting all your energy, thought, in dedication to the work, your work can go anywhere. You just don't have to look for an undergrad or like, you know, science fair and all this thing. This is just beyond us. What we're doing at ASDRP is exemplary. It's novel, it's new, it's worth it. I've come with the proof with my team. And that's a full proof, you know, because Society of Neuroscience are very, very picky about who is presenting, what topics are presenting, how they are categorizing it. So that's definitely a proof that it is doing a good research is irrespective of your age. You follow your mentor, be a good mentee, hardworking, passionate, and you can see the examples here. Thank you so much, team. I mean, it was short and sweet, just like how I love the Colloquia to be the presentations. If you have any question, please put it in the chat. If you have any question in general about going to a big conference, please ask my team to give you a hint if you're stressed out or if you're wondering that how high schooler can go to such a big conference. Please reach out to them. They are experienced. They definitely enjoy it more than that, and they also get to learn a lot. I think after like an hour or so, the most amazing thing was like they could even like come back to me and say that what was the fault with that presentation, what they liked the most, and they kind of like become like started sounding like an expert, you know, filtering the good presentations. So I think you have a question. Go ahead and answer that.
Sure. So in order to determine that there wouldn't be any bias, we made sure to omit any mention of the COVID-19 vaccine specifically. So we only used time periods. We used, I think, around the early months of 2020 and then the later months from June to November. So that would determine when they got their vaccination. However, we didn't specifically say, how was your sleep before the vaccination? How was your sleep after? So that was how we accounted for that bias.
Any other question for my team? No? Okay, we wish you luck for your manuscript submission. And thank you so much for all of you showed up tonight. You have a question.
So to collect data first, we had to collect dummy data first to see if JotForm was working, if it was computing the SQI scores effectively. And then it really depends on what your goal for the amount of participants is. Our goal was around 75 eligible participants. And so once we reached that, we closed the data collection. For us, it took 2 to 3 months, I would say. However, it truly does depend on how many participants you are aiming for.
Yeah, and one thing about that is that, like Devan said, we emailed college professors and high school teachers. And so this was when we were trying to collect data. We were emailing college professors from around the US because we were trying to gain participants, not just from concentrated in the Bay Area, but from all across the US. So it took some time to do that as well.
So we shall wrap up the presentation. So have a good night, everyone. Thank you, team, and good luck. Bye-bye.